Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings, you fabulous people. I'm loving the comments about the tiaras, and I'm really pleased loads of you have ordered the same one as me. Fantastic. Can't wait to see the pictures. And Vintage Read, I think, has ordered the same one. I have been reading the comments, your comments, on the video yesterday about that really different, strange, smooth puff piece. And you all have very different takes on it. There is a bit of a theme, you know, don't trust Markle, she'd never change her spots and stuff. Oh, don't worry, that's not what I was trying to explain. But in this one might be a little bit longer than usual videos, or it might not. It depends how easily I can explain it. I know a lot of you out there have had real knockdown narcissists in your... Not now, please, WhatsApp. Oh my goodness, they start. So they know, psychically, they know I'm recording. A lot of you have had real narcissists in your life, because someone the other day did say that the word is a little overused, and I do agree it is. It's become a sort of a common insult, hasn't it? Which does take away and somewhat dilute what an actual narcissist is. Now, I had no idea what a narcissist was until we met our two psychopaths, and they're psychotic, our two. They're two people who came into our lives in 2010. And I'd never seen this before. Never. Now, I'm not saying Meghan is a narcissist, because I'm not a psychologist, and I don't know her as a person. I only know the PR, right? So for legal reasons, I've got to say that. Equally, I know a lot of you are frustrated saying, you know, about the children. Again, for legal reasons, there are some things I can't say. But if I go back to the beginning of the story, I have always been a monarchist. I've always been interested in the royal family. From when I was little, I remember Princess Anne's first wedding. Both my sisters were into it. My whole family are monarchists. And of course, I remember Charles and Diana's wedding, and that was blitz. That was all over the news for months and months, building up to the big day. And of course, the breakdown between Charles and Diana was, again, a big thing. You know, with the royal family. That's my water pump, by the way, in case anybody asks. It does that once in a while. So things flare up in the royal family, and then everything's cushy for about 10 years. That's what I've noticed over the years. Everything's just going fine, and then suddenly, kaboom, there's a crisis, or they're not getting on, or there's a divorce, or something's happening. So I've always been interested in them. Then in 2010, when we met our two psychopathic narcissists, they're not related to us. We don't work with them. They are not neighbours. It's nothing like that, and I cannot identify them. Well, I wouldn't anyway. As escapism, as normal in the evenings, I'd go on the internet and look the royal family up, and there's Catherine. And then Catherine and William got married, and I'm watching all of that, and it was just really lovely escapism to get away from the psychopaths in our lives who were really driving us mental. And then along came Meghan. Now, like a lot of you, when I saw the engagement interview, I didn't trust her. I just didn't believe a lot of it. I just thought this girl is so fake, so false, so artificial. She doesn't mean anything of what she's saying. But at that stage, I didn't realise that she had similar tendencies, or appeared to our two narcissists. Now, by the time she came along, we'd really more or less gotten our psychopaths under control. We realised at that stage what they were. I had begun watching Dr. Ramani. That was my first port of call. Just looking up, I just sort of Googled a few of their symptoms, things that they'd done. I had been searching for years, actually, and previously to the general term, we're now familiar with the term of narcissism and its definition. The closest thing I could find before was something called a gadfly, if you look that up on Google. But the gadfly characteristics didn't quite, well, they weren't nasty enough. They just didn't quite fit the bill of narcissism. But then I discovered narcissism and I started showing Dr. Ramani's videos to members of my family and other people who had been affected by our personal two psychopaths. Lots of people in the community. And they were blown away and they were like, wow, that describes them both to a T. So I'm still watching the royal family as escapism. I then watched the first season of The Crown, and Claire Foy, the girl who played the young queen, although she didn't really look like her, she really captured her late Majesty's calm, reserve, and keeping it all under wraps. And I was so impressed with Claire's performance. I thought, that is how we are going to treat our two narcissistic psychopaths from now on. So this was all happening at the same time. We're watching The Crown, Meghan Markle's coming in, and I'm examining Dr. Ramani, and I didn't realise that the three worlds were going to collide. We did. I told everybody, this is how we've got to treat them. I think they call it grey rocking, don't they? Freezing out, rising above, and it worked a treat. They continued for about 6 months before they got bored. They weren't getting any supply from any of us, and they moved on to other victims, and we've just unfortunately had to sit off and watch other people have their lives destroyed. But there's no way any of us could step in and help, because it would involve us then being dragged back into it. And then I started to watch the YouTubers such as Ashley, Murky Meg, According to Taz, and Yankee Wally. And I confess at first and they're all very investigative people. Well, Ashley's since passed. Very investigative, very inquisitive people. You know, why this, why that, this doesn't tie up, that doesn't tie up with that. Please not now. Just decline that call. Sorry if my phone's vibrating. That's one of my family trying to ring me. So anyway, I took it all with a pinch of salt what the YouTubers were actually saying. And then I began to realise they were absolutely right, and that they were noticing things that I was not. And that's when I realised that Meghan Markle had the same tendencies, and that really grabbed my attention. So my interest of narcissism from my own personal difficulties, and my interest of the monarchy and the royal family, and my interest in the way Claire Foy played the queen, it all started to come together. Now, the reason that the puff piece yesterday interests me is because, as I said to you the other day, nobody tells a narc what to do. But what I do sense from that puff piece confirms what I had already suspected, what I said to you last week, a loss of control, a complete loss of control. Not just that Harry's going alone. I mean, that in itself, that Harry's going alone, that you know how she is, she likes to have control. But the puff piece now to me suggests that she's being frozen out, that the Windsors are freezing her out. Now, one of you has commented, and again, I haven't had a chance to watch Neil because I'm getting phone calls and I've got to do DIY and a million things today. But I believe you that Neil said that Harry and Meghan hadn't actually been, correct me if I've got this wrong, hadn't been talking directly to Charles, but to Charles's office or his lawyers or something like that. And to me, that's a good sign. I have tremendous faith in Queen Camilla. Now, I'm a Diana fan. I loved Princess Diana. I loved her. And I was Team Diana back in the day. But watching Charles and Camilla together, Camilla is so much better for him. She's good for him. She's a strong woman. I'm not saying he's a weak man, but together they're a good team. And I believe that Camilla won't let Meghan within an inch. Not a bit of it. And I believe that King Charles takes Camilla's counsel seriously. They've been together a long time. They've now been together longer than Charles and Diana. She's so much better for him than Diana. That was a very unsuited marriage, unfortunately. But I believe that puff piece, because what happens with narcs when they lose control is they creep. They are slick. They suddenly turn into sweetness and light, which is what I was trying to sort of show you all, because I think what we're all interested in is what is going on in the mindset of Meghan. What's going to be her next move? What's she going to do next? And I think she's all at sea. I don't believe Netflix are going to do a second thing. I'm not sure Spotify are going to do a second thing. Although Spare may well have had good book sales, I don't believe they're anywhere near as good as they claim. I think the expense, I think the money, and I mean really they've fired off everything they've got. Bang, 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 bang. Where are they going to go next if Netflix and Spotify say no thank you? We tried, it didn't work, it wasn't as good as we thought, and we don't think there's a 2 movie in it. Where are they going to go? Everything is downhill from now. Now, the interesting thing is that after 3 years of being very, no, I know best, Meghan, we're going to do things my way. Who does the Queen of England think she is? Who does the King of England think he is? She really had this sort of overinflated self-sense of importance, which, trust me, with our narcs, they do. They do. They think they are the emperor of the world. They really do. They think they're above everything. They think they're above the law. They think they're above God. So when a narc is blown off the top of their pedestal, that's a sight to see. Now, I know a lot of you also, or some of you, have said you'd like a break from Meghan because of the coronation. Let's just celebrate the coronation. Yes, I understand that. But then maybe just avoid my channel for a bit, because, as I say, it's the narcissism and the fact that I looked and thought, oh my goodness, the royal family have got one in the family. Oh, how are they going to cope? Because we really struggled to cope. I have told the story before, so I will repeat it without identifying anybody. But just to give you one example, and I could actually give you about 35 horrendous episode examples of what we've suffered over 13 years. One of the first things that we suffered was when we first moved to Gibraltar, I promised the kids 2 things to help them settle in. One, that they could swim in the water near the boat, in their life jackets, you know, and 2, that they could have a couple of little kittens. This is a big boat, you know, and you see we have a cat on the boat, there's no problem. So we got them 2 little kittens, and they absolutely loved them. And the narcs, just to keep the story short, the narcs found out, and they had it in for us. I can't explain how they came into our lives, because that would identify them, but they had it in for us. And they didn't do it themselves. They spread rumours that our little kittens were shitting on other boat owners' boats, which they were not. I know that for a fact, because they were tiny kittens and they were locked inside the boat. They hadn't been outside the boat once. I was afraid they'd fall in the water. But they kept up this smear campaign for weeks, months, spreading it round. I had 1 or 2 people come to me and warn me and say, these people are not normal, Fiona. And I said, oh, you know, it's nonsense. They're just making up nonsense. And they said, no, you don't understand. They're going to work on people and work on people and work on people until somebody does something. And more than one person said to me, never let the cats out the boat. Well, cats, they grew up. And when they were young adults, you know, still quite, you know, when cats are like small, but they're not kittens, but they're not a fully grown cat. Well, I had to let them out. Well, these narcs wound somebody up in the community so badly that that person kidnapped both of them, killed one, and the other one escaped, came back to the boat and had gone mad. I don't know what that person had done to them, and licked itself bald till it bled, and it was awful. It was awful. And I won't go into the details of the whole thing, but about a week or two after the whole episode, I saw one of the narcissists, and there was another cat in the community, and this narcissist was stroking it and looked at me and said, "I love cats, don't you?" Right, so that just gives you a tiny, and that's one of the mildest things they've done to my family. They do things to animals, they do things to children. They don't care. They just don't have boundaries out to. They're evil, evil people. So, no, I'm going to follow this to the end, because I do believe that Meghan has narcissistic tendencies. And now I am seeing her downfall, and that puff piece confirmed it for me. So it's not a question of me trusting her or believing her or leopards and changing spots. No, 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 no. I'm in this for the long haul. And I am going to observe as she goes down the loo and round the U-bend. Because I equally, having watched the Windsors, I know when you are out, you are out. And it'll be interesting to see someone with narcissistic tendencies screaming their head off and going crazy. And we're all going to see some pretty crazy stuff. Believe me. And I, for one, am here for it. As always, thank you very much for listening. This was a bit of an impromptu video, and now I've got to get on with my DIY. As always, look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening.